Hello, everyone. My name is Desa, and I am your professor for the Research and Program Evaluation course. And while I was going through some of your topics and titles, I thought it could be helpful for me to briefly show you how to look up articles and how to find research using different search terms and keywords. So the first thing you want to do is I prefer to start inside of Google Scholar, and I'm going to show you kind of a tip slash hack on how to make Google Scholar benefit you more and connect it to universities that you're currently associated with. Okay, so here we can see as I'm looking at my desktop here is Google Scholar. So first things first is when you log in to Google Scholar, you want to come over here to the three bars and click on them. You want to go to settings, and in your settings option, you want to click library links. And here you want to type in the libraries that you want Google to search while you're looking for your topic. So for this, I'm going to put in Palo Alto University and click it. And then I'm going to put in University of New Mexico. And here you can see for University of New Mexico, we have several different options. Here, I'm going to click University of New Mexico main campus because this is what I have direct access to. You also want to make sure you keep open the Open WorldCat. This is just a general library search that will give you access to several different articles. So for this, then I want to click save, and then it will always save those for you, and you'll be able to access those articles as you look them up. So for this, I'm now going to close this tab. This is what my current setup looks like. So here I have WorldCat, University of New Mexico. For this, I have Albuquerque ProQuest, as well as main campus, and then Palo Alto and William & Mary. So when I'm searching for articles throughout Google Scholar, I really don't need to leave Google Scholar unless I'm actually looking up the article. So I don't need to save anything because it's already under my library links. For you to access this information and keep it tied to your Google account, you want to make sure that you're always logged in over here or through the login button. So now that that's done, I'm going to go into Google Scholar. So for my current research, I'm looking at critical race theory and leadership. And so overall, I'm just going to start with critical race theory. So here we can see the number one thing that kind of pops up first is going to be the book, which is kind of a flagship book of what we see in critical race theory. But under that, we see Toward a Critical Race Theory of Education. Gloria Ladson-Billings does a lot of Black education work in the field and in research and education research. And so here on this side, I can see that there is a PDF access for me to see right away, or I could find it through one of the libraries I'm associated with. So for this, I'm just going to open it up in a new tab, ResearchGate, and here is the actual article of what I'm looking at. So Towards a Critical Race Theory of Education, Gloria Ladson-Billings and William Tate. And then this is the article overall. So I know I sent you some information about Zotero, which is referencing. I'm not going to cover it in this video, but there are links to how you can set up a Zotero to work for you. What I'm going to do here is over here in my top right Google Chrome access bar, I'm actually going to head over here to Save to Zotero, which is ResearchGate. I'm going to click on that. It's going to save it to my library, which I set up separately, which is actually attached to my Dropbox. So it has unlimited storage. And I'm just going to say, I want to save it to my library, and I want to keep the current title in the ResearchGate link. So here I'm going to click done. And then what we can see behind it is it showed up inside my Zotero network. And this is the article I just saved. So if I click on it, this is the APA formatting for that article that will help import it into my research paper that I'm writing later on. But then also it will give me the direct link to find it. And so it gives Zotero sets it up where while you're researching, you can actually save articles as you're going and return to them later, which is one of the things I like the most. So as I said earlier, I'm really looking for critical race theory and leadership. And so there's a few things about CRT and leadership that I'm most interested in. So first and foremost, I'm interested in critical race theory and counselor education. And this is one of our flagship articles from Annalise Singh and Natoya Haskins. So here it says I have access through wiley.com. So I'm going to right click it, bring it up. And this is the article that I've already read, which is pretty good. But we can see here that I actually don't have it currently in my Zotero library since I'm rebuilding my library right now. So rather than saving it maybe to my desktop or saving it to read later, I'm going to insert it directly into my Zotero network. And then again, if I head over here, here is the article by Haskin and Singh. And when I double click on it, it actually saves the PDF directly to my Dropbox. So while before we saw that ResearchGate gave me a link to that article and I can look it up later, this article, because I have direct access to the PDF, it saved it automatically to my desktop drive or my Dropbox drive. So now that I kind of see that this is one of the articles, there's a few things I'm most interested in. So it has critical race theory. It's looking at counselor education and pedagogy. So while I'm looking at counselor education and critical race theory, I'm not 100% looking for pedagogy or teaching. So I've read this article before, but some things that helps to focus on is one, what does the abstract say? Will kind of give you an in-depth idea of kind of what's going on there. But then also I can scroll all the way to the bottom. And I can kind of see two things here. So the first thing is I want to know what implementation and evaluation of CRT pedagogy is. In this section, it's really going to tell me what they think CRT might look like within the classroom and how I could essentially adopt CRT into my current teaching or my current work. But then the other thing I'm looking at is the conclusion. So this kind of wraps everything up into kind of a cute little bow and tells me overall what are the main aspects of this article and like what is my main takeaway. And then one of the helpful things has been for me is I can also see references. So this is where I might be able to find some other articles or some other books around what might be helpful for my literature review or my work. So here earlier, I showed you the book for critical race theory. You can see here that Dr. Haskins and Dr. Singh also inserted this book into their article as well. So while that was really helpful for me and kind of gave me an overall idea of maybe what I was looking for, I'm also interested in what critical race theory and leadership might look like. So here, the first one is perspectives on education, leadership, critical race theory, and educational administration. So when I talk about leadership, I'm actually talking about national leadership. So what does leadership look like in American Counseling Association or American Psychology Association, or AERA? So I'm really looking at national level leadership, not necessarily administration leadership, which would be a dean or maybe the president of a university. So this is kind of close, but not really what I'm looking for. So some things I might want to change is I could say critical race theory and leadership framework. So I am actually using a leadership framework in my study. So this can be really helpful for me to kind of go through and see what the options are. This first one, negotiating the contested terrain of equity focused change efforts in schools. So again, while they are talking about critical race theory and leadership framework, I'm not interested in schools or the K through 12 system. So what this search has kind of told me is that I may need to change some words around or kind of look for something different. So critical race theory is also called CRT. So I could do CRT national leadership. So here we have educational leadership. Educational leadership is a way closer to what I'm looking for and what I'm searching for. Derek Bell is an awesome critical race theory scholar who has lots of work kind of in this area. So from here, just this title alone, educational leadership. So then I could say educational leadership. And maybe I want to say theory. So from there, it gives me some different ideas of what I'm looking for. And it gives me some related search options. So critical issues in educational leadership, a review of leadership theories, principles, and practices, educational leadership and social justice. So it kind of opens up my overall idea of what I could be looking for, but also kind of comes at my overall topic in kind of certain different ways. So that can be especially helpful for those of you interested in doing research with BIPOC communities. BIPOC really has just emerged in the last few years. And so a lot of articles might not actually include BIPOC work. So I'm going to look up CRT and BIPOC. And just looking through here, I see most of these articles are 2021. So this year, kind of scrolling through 2020. So I'm seeing here that lots of articles that are coming up are within the last few years or so, which really could be helpful if I'm looking at critical race theory and current literature. But if I'm kind of missing something from here, or I don't think I'm finding it, I actually want to change what I'm searching for and use different language to search for it. So here I want to look at critical race theory and people of color. So just based off that search, now we're seeing that when I search people of color, we're seeing articles for 2008, 1998, 2010, 2016, 2007. When you're looking up research articles and you're doing research, we tend to like to keep our articles within the last 10 years or so that we are citing relevant current literature. And if I'm actually hoping to narrow this even more, I could say critical race theory and Black college students, which is one of my areas of interest. And so then it really narrows the idea of critical race theory, racial microaggressions, campus racial climate, the experience of African American college students. While this article is from 2000, this is probably one of the main articles I want to look at, and it's most cited based off all of the other citations. And we can see that through here. It has 4,042 citations versus this one only has 218. Other things that are super helpful within Google Scholar is I can click on the citations and see who actually cited this work and cited this article. Here we can see here's an Annalise saying in um, Danica Hayes' book on qualitative inquiry. This is actually a counseling book that's used in the profession around research. If I go back, then I can actually save it or star it. So it's located in my Google Scholar. I can also make sure that I have the correct APA citation. If I do want to, however, save it and save the article, I again would go through that process of opening it into a new window, just so I don't lose my search results. And so this is the article I want. And then for my purposes and the work that I'm doing, I want to actually save it up here on the right to Zotero. And then I can see here is that article. And when I double click on it, it will bring up the article for me again. So I have access to it. Awesome. So I'm hoping that this will kind of create some clarity and get you all started in thinking about research a little bit differently. The main things is make sure you add Palo Alto or University of New Mexico or any university you're associated with to your Google Scholar. And it will really show the links for that, but it will also give you direct access to looking for it in that university library. So rather than just searching the library, you could go directly through Google Scholar and have access to what the library has access to, as well as what's already on Google Scholar through ResearchGate or other open access journals that you don't need to pay for the articles. Please let me know if you have any questions. As always, I'm really excited to hear and see your research ideas, and we will just keep working on it.